Hello, today is the 3rd of April 2025. 2 days ago, I flew to Spain all by myself. I traveled here by myself, and so that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. My travel day and then the changes I've made in myself. Like, I'm going to compare to the past, like how I used to be really nervous in that situation, but now I wasn't, and what changes I saw in myself. And I'll also talk about my first full day that I had yesterday here in Spain, and my meeting with my friend Mario yesterday evening. And honestly, it's really all good. Like, even though my mind is still finding things that weren't so perfect and weren't so good, the thing is, I know I have this perfectionist thinking style. So if things aren't like 100% good, which is also black and white, then it's like I focus in on the one negative thing that happened, or the one negative, thought I created. And then I focus in on that, and I feel like, that might be the ultimate truth, and everything else kind of seems less worth, or I don't know, like, my mind is then, like, I'm then disappointed in myself that there was something negative I created, or some sort of negative thoughts I went after and thought about. So even though if I look at everything, if someone else would look at the past 2 days of my life, they would be like, girl, those were amazing 2 days of your life, and you managed all of it, and it was like so good. So I think that might help me to actually look at it from like someone else's perspective, instead of being stuck in my own mind being like, yeah, but this is the thing that went wrong, or this wasn't super 100% great. So like, which is, which I'm working on. And the good thing is, I know I have the perfectionist thinking style, so that's why I focus in on these things. I know I have black and white thinking, that's why I focus in on these things, and that's why I feel kind of bad about myself when there's one small thing that didn't go great, or even if there's multiple small things that weren't so great, but the majority was good. It's like, yeah, I know I'm feeling bad because of those thinking styles, not because of the actual reality of the situation. So let's get started. So basically, the one fear I had before traveling by myself was that I would create scary thoughts during the travel day, and that I wouldn't be able to stop thinking about that I would focus in on these scary thoughts, then feel so anxious and so panicky that I feel like I can't do this, I need to go home, or I need someone with me, or I don't feel safe, and I feel like I can't handle these thoughts, or I can't do anything about them, and then I feel stuck in the thoughts, and I'm like, oh my god, I just have to live with this, and I'm not able to do anything about it. That's kind of the fear I had, that I would create a panicky imagination, or imagine something that could go wrong, which would scare me so much that then I would be stuck in those thoughts and feel like I can't do anything about it, and it's like I can't handle it, and it's so bad. That's what I was afraid of. And the evening before I went traveling, I read through the Helplessness thinking style again in the Thrive program book. And then it read that learned helplessness is just a belief. So you just believe you can't do anything about it. You believe you are stuck. You believe these things are happening to you, and you just have to live with it, and you can't change it. Learned helplessness is just a belief. And then I went on to going in my mind thinking like, okay, so if I wouldn't believe that I can't do anything about it, and like I'm stuck and these things are happening to me, how would I feel then if I didn't believe those things? If I believed I can do things about it? And then I noticed that even in situations where I would truly be stuck and I truly couldn't do anything about it, I still wouldn't feel like everything's helpless, everything's like, oh my god, so bad. because what I would feel would be so different. I would feel more powerful in myself and know that I can handle this. And then in situations where I would normally believe I'm helpless, but if I didn't have that belief, then I would just be like, okay, what can I do about the situation? Try things, try do things. And if they don't work, then still know, I can do this. It's the belief that you are helpless and you can't do anything about it that frightens you and that hurts you and that makes you feel stuck. If you didn't have that belief, you wouldn't feel stuck. You would still feel powerful and good enough within yourself. Yeah, so I don't know, that realization and what I read there, that chapter was really, really, helpful, honestly. But the next morning I woke up and, did create some negative thoughts, like, kind of like, I'll be lonely in the house alone in Spain and I probably won't be able to enjoy it, or I might be afraid at night, or thoughts like, I need to collect the car from the airport as well, which I've never done before, and then drive back alone from the airport and stuff. And what if things go wrong, or I feel so panicky that I do things wrong or get lost or forget how to drive properly. And mainly, again, the thoughts were like, what if I create a scenario in my mind that scares me so much that then I'll be stuck in my mind, feel so panicky, have lost all perspective, and my whole world just seems dark and scary and like I can't handle it. So that's kind of the thoughts that were going on, and it really annoyed me. I was like, why am I creating this? I know this is unhelpful, so why am I doing this? I just want to stop it. But then I noticed, okay, that's very unfriendly, the way I was talking to myself, and that's keeping me stuck in, my thoughts. It's not helping me. So I was just like, look, it's okay. It's okay to be nervous. Like, you have this journey ahead of you. In the past, you were always quite nervous and you still made it. And in the past, you had negative thoughts as well and imagined certain scenarios, and they never came true when you traveled. You were always able to handle everything, and it's really just, it's just a flight, it's just traveling from Ireland to Spain, it's nothing like major, and I have, I can contact my family anytime. Stuff like that kind of helped me regain perspective, but then I was still holding on to some negative thoughts, and I felt quite nervous, and then I felt quite negative about the whole situation and about myself. But then when I put on like a feel-good movie in the mornings while I was eating breakfast and I cuddled with Akela, I actually regained a lot of perspective, because I just distracted myself from my brooding thoughts, because I was engaging in the brooding thinking style again. Like, I need to figure this out, like what if this and this happens, I need to find a solution for that, and so on. But I noticed that was making me feel so bad and like focusing in on the negatives. And I knew that for brooding, you need to fully, get your mind to focus on something else. And that's how you kind of get out of the brooding thinking style. So I put on a movie and I cuddled with Akela, and I got out of my mind a lot then. And then these certain thoughts that I use to regain perspective were really helpful too, being like, it's just a journey, I've done this many times before. And what I also practiced for 2 days before that, like twice a day or maybe a bit more, was to use my imagination to imagine the way I want to be and react while I'm traveling. So I, for like 5 minutes at a time, I just sat down on my bed in a quiet space and I imagined myself going through the airport, going from Ireland to Spain and all the steps that I need to take. And I imagined myself being fully calm, like really not stressed, not panicky, not at all any of that. I was just like fully calm, knowing I can cope, I can handle this, I've got this, imagining things, going well, But even if things wouldn't go well, knowing that I can still stay calm, I don't need to panic, it's all okay. And guys, that helped me so much in the end, which I'm going to prove to you when I continue my story and talk about the steps I took to get from Ireland to Spain, because I stayed really calm. And then I also, because I was a bit nervous to meet my friend Mario again, I imagine myself as well when I meet him to, I imagine myself being really calm and grounded and, not stressed, having no negative thoughts. When I'm stressed, I break into sweats as well. And for me, that's a bit embarrassing because, I don't want anyone, of course, to smell it or to see it or whatever. So yeah, I always kind of focus in on that as well. But then when I worry about that, I feel more stressed and worried. So then I break into sweats even more. So it's kind of like a really stupid cycle. So that's why I just imagine myself staying really calm. And oh my God, it helped so much. Like, using your imagination to your advantage is amazing, like really amazing. Yeah, and there's certain things obviously that you can't control. Like, you can't control the way people are going to talk to you, for example, or you can't control if the flight gets cancelled or if it is delayed or whatever, but you can control the way you react. And so when I practice staying calm and imagining myself staying calm, that's really what I did, and that helped me to cope with whatever happened. So it was really cool. And then once I got in the car and Dad drove me to the airport, I already felt quite a bit better. And what I was still focusing on was the fact that I had created negative thoughts, or I had created these unhelpful thoughts that made me feel quite anxious. So I was basically, I guess, beating myself up that way because I was like focusing in on the fact that I had created these thoughts instead of look, I regained some perspective, and yeah, I'm a bit anxious, and that's okay. I'm still gonna make it and stuff like that. Yeah, in the car, it was all fine. I wanted to thank Dad as well for all the work he's done with me on my website, and I wanted to really tell him that I'm really happy about everything, and it was nice working with him, and I just love, the way it's coming along. Yeah, and once I was in the airport then, I felt, a lot calmer already, and I went through security really calm, not creating any anxious thoughts. I just went through all of it and just went through all of it. Like, in the past I would have been like, is this right what I'm doing? Where should I go? What is this okay? Do I need to do this and that? What if they say something to me? What if I'm doing something wrong? But none of that was in my mind. I just did it. And then I casually and calmly walked through the airport to find a seat as well. And there was no thoughts that were like, go to your seat quickly so, you're safe and no one can talk to you, kind of. And like at least you'll have a seat then and you'll just wait for your gate and stuff. But I actually didn't immediately go to a seat. I actually just walked through the shops and looked at some things, and then I very slowly went to buy some water. Then I slowly went to the bathroom, and then I slowly went to sit down somewhere and wait until the gate was shown on the TV. So this is so different, like, from the past. I would have immediately been like, okay, next step, go to the seat, then make sure you look at the TV in between so you don't miss the gate or you know where to go, like all of that. None of that was in my head. I was just so calm and casual. And then I went to the gate, and there as well, everyone already went in line, but I knew that they have to wait there for a long time, and I didn't want to stand for so long. So actually no one was sitting yet, but there was seats around the gate, and so I just picked a seat and I just sat down, which I wouldn't have done because I would have been like, everyone else is standing, so I should probably stand too, and what if I miss the gate, or what if they go ahead and I'm like the last one, or I'm like still sitting or something, which is so unlikely to happen. Like, I could see them, and if they would have been like walking and going out to the airplane, I could have just went. Like, there was no need to stress. And it was like, yeah, it doesn't matter if they're all standing. They can stand if they want to, but I can sit if I want to. And then as more people came, more people sat down as well beside me. So like, it was all fine. But the nice thing to see is that I was so different from the past, and I really liked it, like how calm I was, and it was all like fine. In the airplane, I sat beside two elderly men, so I was in the middle because I didn't pay for a seat, so that's why I just got a random seat and I got a middle seat. And I sat beside two elderly men, one of which like didn't really speak to me at all, but that was nice, and I like that. I'm like, yeah, it's fine, we can all do our own thing, I don't need to speak to anyone. But all like good and friendly. And then the other one talked to me in between, like more at the start and at the end of the flight. Not much either, but just a few sentences. And I, replied to him, and I just spoke with him a bit as well. Like nothing deep or long or anything, but I, answered his questions. I asked him questions, and then afterwards I noticed, wait, I just spoke to him without doubting myself. I just spoke to him without being nervous. I just spoke to him without constantly being like, is this weird? What is going on? Like, I don't want him to talk to me. He spoke to me and I spoke back to him. Like, that was it. Are you kidding? That was it. That's how simple it can be. I don't need to be nervous. I don't need to doubt myself. I don't need to constantly think like it's weird, or I don't want that, or what is he gonna think of me, or like what if I say something wrong, or what if I don't know what he said, or so like what? I didn't create any of that, and I only noticed it afterwards. I was like, wait, I was just completely calm when talking to him. I didn't like fiddle around with my seat. I just was myself and just spoke. And then I noticed as well, throughout most of the flight, I leaned back in my chair, and as in like I leaned my head onto it on the chair, and I had my eyes closed. Like I closed my eyes in the middle of two people, and they could have seen me, and it didn't matter. Like, what? In the past, even when I was at the window seat, I would have turned my head as far as possible to the other side before I closed my eyes, so that absolutely no one could look at me and no one could see me or judge me. And now I was between two people, my head straight, so anyone could have seen me, and I did not care. I was not paranoid about it. I was like, it's not that deep. They're not going to think that much about me. And the fact that I'm not thinking much about myself, and I'm not paranoid, and I'm not, thinking in a crazy way, that's what's keeping me calm. That's why I'm just myself and not nervous. And like, what the frick? Like, it's insane. And I love it. Like, I love it so much. And then when we landed, I went through security there, and then I went really casually and calmly to the bathroom. I wasn't constantly thinking like, I need to go to the car people, I need to go outside and wait for the car people to collect me. I know there's a better word for it, but I'm just going to call them car people, to collect me and to bring me to my car. I wasn't at all like, I don't know if I have time to go to the bathroom, I should probably go outside and wait for them, they might already be there, and what if I miss them, and what if this and that. I literally went to the bathroom, took my time, slowly walked to the elevators, went down to the ground floor, slowly walked outside, and I followed the directions that mom and dad had given me and the car people had given me to where to walk and where to wait for them. And then I had to walk across the street, and then there was these signposts with different numbers on them, and for some reason in my mind had the number 70 in my head, so I was like, okay, I need to wait at number 70, but nowhere, I couldn't see 70 anywhere. And I noticed that in the past these thoughts would have arisen and they would have panicked me so much. Thoughts like, oh no, there's no number 70. Where is it? Am I wrong here? Maybe it's somewhere else. Maybe it doesn't exist. Where am I supposed to go now? I thought it was number 70. I would have panicked and walked back and forth and been like, oh no, what's going on? I'm stuck. I'm lost. I would have panicked so much. And this time, even though those were thoughts that entered my mind, like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe that doesn't exist, maybe I'm not at the right place. And even though I walked down that way and then that way looking for number 70, I didn't panic. I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm lost. Oh my God, where am I? Oh my God, what if I can't reach anyone? What if I'm totally wrong? What's going on? No, I stayed calm. Even though I had some unhelpful thoughts in my head, I still didn't feel panicked. I stayed calm, and then I was like, okay, look, I have a note in my backpack which says which number I'm supposed to wait at. So then I took out the note, I looked at it and it was like, okay, number 40. And then I saw, okay, 40 is over there, so let's just go. So then I waited there. And there as well, I wasn't like I would have been in the past, standing there with my backpack on my shoulders the whole time, waiting for them for 10, 15 or 20 minutes, waiting for them to come, constantly looking around and where are they and am I really in the right lane? No, this time I put down my backpack in front of me, I ate some chocolate, I drank some water. When cars came, I checked, is that them? It wasn't. And then when it was them, I walked over, I got in the car with other people too, and they drove us to the car park where my car was parked. And then I had to go inside the building and show them the note that was like, I'm here to collect my car and stuff, and it's all paid for already. They just handed me the keys. I walked out to the car, and in the past I would have been like, okay, I need to go and drive and I need to organize everything. I need to put on the Navi. I need to, put on the right shoes. I need to make sure everything's okay, have my sunglasses with me, and, hopefully I'll be able to make it home, and hopefully everything's all right. And, I can't stay here for long because, they gave me the car back, so I need to go and drive. And what if they see me still standing here after 5 or 10 minutes? I really need to go. That's the way I would have thought in the past. Whereas now, I approached my car, I put the backpack in there, I took out the stuff that I needed from the backpack, put them to the front seat, I checked the car and made everything the way I needed it to be. I put on the Navi and put in the directions that I needed, and I sat down, I took a breath, and then once I was done and ready, I slowly drove off. And first the car kind of conked out a bit because I'm used to now driving our car in Ireland, so I kind of had to get used to this car again. So at first it conked out because I didn't give enough gas, but honestly I stayed calm for that too. I didn't panic. I wasn't like, oh my God, now I'm gonna make loads of mistakes while I'm driving, and no, I shouldn't be driving and stuff like that. As if this proves that the drive is gonna be horrible, I'm gonna make loads of mistakes. So I did stay calm, although I did also create some thoughts like, oh no, is it safe for me to drive this car? Or, I hope I'll be able to get home safely and stuff like that. So some thoughts that were obviously perfectionist thoughts as well, and a bit kind of beating me up that you have to know how to drive this car or whatever. But yeah, I stayed pretty calm, and I noticed how unhelpful they were, and I was like, look, this doesn't prove anything. I'm just used to driving the car in Ireland, so I need to get used to this again. It takes a few seconds. It takes a few seconds for probably most people in the world when they're used to one car to get used to another car again. So yeah, and then though I didn't find the exit in the car park, so I kind of drove around, and I kind of drove to more parking places where I had to like reverse out again, and this happened twice. So I drove in wrong once and then wrong again the second time, and then I saw the exit. And then even though I did stay calm there as well when I drove wrong, in the past I would have been like, oh my god, where's the exit? What's happening? Is it so embarrassing when people see me? Where am I supposed to go? Like, how do I get out of here? What's going on? Oh no, this is all a fail and I'm getting everything wrong. No, I didn't create that. I was calm, but I still kind of beat myself up for that. I kind of, like, not as much as the past, but I still believed the thoughts that were like, yeah, this is a bit like embarrassing, but that was kind of it. That was kind of the only thought. Yeah. And obviously I catastrophized it as well a bit, but yeah, it was still like fine, even though that's the one thing then during my whole travel day that I held on to, which wasn't super great, or where I did things wrong. That's, again, I can see it now clearly, my perfectionism. I didn't immediately find the exit and immediately drive out. I kind of drove into two wrong laneways, and that's what I held on to because of my perfectionist thinking, because of black and white, because of catastrophizing. And then that's the thing I was like most disappointed in, even though it's not even a big deal, even though everything else went well, like even though I was doing so good. And yeah, there might have been one or two other things that weren't super good, but look at everything I did and accomplished and managed. And then that's the main thing I held on to, that where I was disappointed in. And it didn't even matter that much. Like, it didn't matter. I could have just parked the car again and could have gone back into the building and asked, where is the exit? Like, there's ways to find it. I could have parked the car and walked around myself, seeing where do I need to drive. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But then once I was actually at the exit, a man saw me. He came over to me and he asked, you know, if everything's okay and where I'm trying to go. And then he told me which direction I had to go, because the navy didn't show me if I had to go left or right. So he said I need to go right, and then I just drove along that street, but it was kind of a weird street. So I was like, wait, is this a one-way street? Because it was like very narrow, and there wasn't a line in the middle, but cars came towards me. So I was like, wait, am I wrong? Am I doing this right? So those were obviously unhelpful thoughts as well, but at the same time they're like, yeah, of course I need to be careful and be like, is this the right way? But I wasn't just being like, is this the right way? I was like, is this the right way? Am I doing things wrong? That's what was unhelpful. The fact that I'm checking, is this the right way? That's actually good. But the fact that I was like, am I doing things wrong? That was unhelpful. Yeah, but then once I was on the long motorway that I had to be on for like half an hour, 40 minutes, I listened to music, I turned it up, and I was still safe. I knew I was safe because I was very calm in the car. I was very aware of what was around me. I didn't drive a speed limit that I felt uncomfortable with. I drove in the speed limit you were supposed to. And I really felt really calm. Like in the past, I would have sat there in the car, really held onto the steering wheel, made sure everything's okay, constantly been like, is there cars around me? Am I going to make it? Am I safe and stuff? And I would have created so much anxiety. I would have been anxious the whole time. But this time, not a trace of anxiety. Like, barely. Again, it was just the thoughts that held on to the negative moments of the day. Those created a bit of anxiety, but I was so freaking calm. I held the steering wheel like loosely without being like, I need to, hold it tight and make sure nothing happens. I felt like held it loosely, obviously still safe. I put on music and I sang to the music. I just sang along, and that's what I wanted to do. That was my plan actually from Ireland, that once I'm on this long motorway and have time for myself, and the motorway is never really that busy and stuff like that, I'm just going to put on music and sing to it, and obviously still be careful and be calm and stuff. So that's what I did. And then I drove into like a city, like, but more like the outskirts of the city, because it wasn't really busy and stuff. Because I was going shopping there, and I actually wanted to go to McDonald's as well to just grab something to eat, but turned out McDonald's was closed. But the fact then that I only realized this once Dad sent the message that read, "Oh, a pity that McDonald's is closed, especially because you were brave enough to go and do it, go and eat there." And that's when I actually only realized, like, yeah, like, what the heck, I just considered and decided to go and eat at McDonald's in a public place alone by myself, order the food, sit there and eat the food, and I hadn't a trace of anxiety or unhelpful thinking in my mind. There was not a thought that was like, oh, this, that could be so weird, or should I really go and eat at McDonald's? Maybe I could just eat at home, and, like, none of the anxious thoughts were there at all. What? Other anxious thoughts were there about, like, the car, about, like, okay, is everything fine? For example, once I forgot to put up the handbrake, like, the car was still, like, it was fine. But in Ireland, for example, we don't have a handbrake. So that, again, I had to get used to. And then I was like, oh no, I did something wrong. Like, that's dangerous. I shouldn't do that. So I was beating myself up for that. And then the car key didn't lock the car. So I actually had to put the key into the car and, like, twist it. And then, though, I wasn't able to open it again. So in the past there, I would have really panicked. I would have been like, oh my God, I'm stuck. But this time I was like, look, there has to be a way to open it again. If I can't, then I can ring my family, or I can just ask a stranger to help me. Like, really, that's not that big of a deal. And then I stayed calm. But yeah, those perfectionist thoughts, those were the ones that kind of, were unhelpful and made me feel like a bit of a failure, even though I did everything so well. Like, not in the fact that I didn't make a single mistake, but the fact that I managed everything and I did everything. And, I did it being so calm. Yeah. Anyways, then I went shopping, and in the shopping centre, I walked through every aisle really slowly and calmly, looking at the things I need, putting the things I need into the basket. Then I went to the till. I paid for everything with the card, which I also never used before. I always paid with cash, or I would have used the card if it were tap, but this time, because it was over €50, I had to put it in and put in the PIN, which in the past I would have created too much anxiety around, needing to put it in, and what if the PIN doesn't work or this and that happens. But this time I just did it, and no anxiety, it all worked out well. Yeah, and then I drove home, which was like another 20 or 25 minutes away. There again, my perfectionist thinking kicked in a small bit while I was driving up the mountain, and it was quite curvy. I was driving, like, not super fast. I was still driving safely, but I did have to go on the brake a lot when obviously there was a sharp curve. Like, obviously you have to go on the brake. But I was then like, Leona, you're not being careful enough. You should drive slower. Or like, you shouldn't have to brake so much at the curves, or you might skid, or you might like fall off the edge or stuff like that again, which was so stupid. I was driving safely. If I would have been like, this isn't safe driving, then I would have just slowed down, but it was safe enough. And I was careful, but I was just, again, trying to be perfect. Like, I shouldn't have to go on the brakes as much as I did around corners, or like thoughts that were like, yeah, I could fall off, or I could skid, or stuff like that. So stupid, like. But it was all fine then in the end, and I arrived home, and I brought the shopping home. There was also my perfectionist thinking that kicked in a bit. The fact that the shopping was really heavy, and I even had to leave half of it in the car and go back for it. and I had it in a basket, and the basket almost broke at the bottom, so I had to like hold it differently then. But when I noticed the basket is almost breaking, and like I'm walking on the pavement, and you know there's people around that could see me, and if my shopping were to fall, that would be embarrassing and stuff. So that, again, my perfectionist thinking kicked in. But then once I was in the house, I had to do a few bits, like turn on the fridge, turn on the electricity, turn on the water, turn on the boiler, kind of set up the house for myself. And while I was doing all of that, I stayed really calm. I just did one thing after the other, and then slowly put my shopping into the fridge. And in the past, I would have been like, okay, I need to do this and that, and then this after that, and now do this and that. And yeah, don't forget the other shopping in the car. And yeah, like I would have really like rushed and like pressurized myself and been like, don't forget this and that. But this time I was so freaking calm, and I did one thing after the next, and it wasn't actually that much that I had to do, and it was like, girl, no need to stress. So that was so nice for me to see as well, and then to process that, oh my god, I just traveled all the way from Ireland to Spain by myself, and even collected the car, which I've never done before. And you know, yeah, like all of that, it's just amazing. Like, and the fact that I stayed so calm in situations where in the past I would have not at all stayed calm, and I would have absolutely panicked, and I beat myself up or been so anxious. Like, it was so different, and I loved it so much. And then I had like such a nice day at home. Because I arrived early, like I was already here at home, I think at 12:30, or yeah, I think 12:30 I arrived here. And I created such a lovely day for myself then. Like, in Ireland I had imagined like coming home and then just lying on the couch watching Riverdale, but at first I actually didn't necessarily want to do that. I went upstairs and I sat outside in the sun and talked to Alana for a while. And then at some point I went for a shower, even though it was still early in the day, but I was just like, okay, I want to just wash off all this stuff. And then I put on fresh clothes, and it was such a nice feeling. I just love that feeling after traveling, going for a shower and putting on fresh clothes. And then I made myself something to eat, something that I was really craving, which was like a soup. And then I laid on the couch and watched Riverdale and almost fell asleep because I was so tired. But I just made it so cozy for myself, and I loved it. Like, I had such a lovely day. And then in the evening, I did want to go to bed early. I was like ready to go to bed at 10. But then Mario and Alana called me. Or actually, I called Alana, but then Mario joined. And that's why it ended up being midnight when I tried to fall asleep. So, yeah. But it's fine. It's worth it staying up later when you have your friends and family to chat to. So yeah, okay, I think because this video is already 40 minutes long for me, I think that's why I'm gonna go on to just a part 2 and then talk about the day I had yesterday. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.